What's up, y'all? It's your girl QueensteezTV, and I am back with another video. So, as you guys can tell from the title, that I quit my job. So, guys, this has been something that, has been stressing me out for like the last 2 years or so. So, I finally said enough is enough, and I literally had to move on. Like, I know it's around the holiday time and stuff like that, but it was just too much for me. I can't take it anymore. So I'm just gonna do like a chit chat video with you guys, kind of like giving you an update. And yeah, we almost done with Vlogmas, so it's no better time than before the new year to, give you guys an update, let y'all know really what's going on besides some of the other fun videos and stuff that I've been doing. So this is like a life update, chit-chatty video. So make sure you guys stay around for the rest of the video, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button, and I'm gonna see you in the video. Alright guys, so here's the update. I guess this is like a story time. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. So whatever. So about 2 years ago, literally at the beginning of the pandemic, I took a regular person job, like away from healthcare, away from the medical field, just doing something totally different, totally non-clinical, right? So of course, everything is all good and you getting the goodies. You know how jobs do to lure you in and all of those things. So I went in there with a pretty, positive mindset about the job or whatever. Then, of course, the pandemic hit. So we were sent home to work from home, which, being a new employee, pretty much everything, my onboarding, everything was done online. So for some people, that was kind of hard. It was like getting up, Zoom type stuff, Skype type stuff, like all day long, which was fine. I mean, it really didn't make a difference. But when it came to doing like hands-on things, it was a little bit difficult, especially when you needed help. So, it's different when you are actually face to face. You can walk to someone and say, okay, this is how you do this is how you do that. So being online, when you have all of these people, let's just say 40 people in a cohort, then it's kind of hard for 2 to 3 people to help 40 people at the same time with the same materials and all that stuff. But, I'm not a bonehead. I can pretty much figure stuff out for myself, right? So all of that is done. We get our assignments. We get assigned to our supervisors and all of this stuff, right? So everything is cool for the most part. But what I will say about this job was it was very, 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 very stressful. It was very high volume. Now, once we was kind of released from our trainers and all of this stuff, it just seemed like everything just went haywire. It was just like you didn't have no support. You didn't really have anyone to help you, but you just kind of had to make do with what you had and keep it moving. Like, when I say stress was at like an all-time high, it was so ridiculous. It was like you was dealing with the stress from the job. Then as far as like management, supervisors and all this stuff, like they would micromanage you, and it was like to the point of, let's just say, okay, first of all, this is something that, I did not like. They could remote into your computers without you knowing. So this was something that was like really one of my big pet peeves. Like, say you was looking for something, or you was trying to find something, or doing whatever miscellaneous, and you like, okay. Then you would get a message pop on your screen like, boop, what are you doing? So, of course, that would be creepy, especially if you like, I'm reading such and such. Well, why is it taking you so long? So I'm like, huh? Then they texting like, I'm looking at your screen. Like, okay, well then you see me reading, so why are you asking me what I'm doing? Like, one, like, you know, just stuff like that. Like, come on, like, we grown. This is not children. You're not monitoring kids. Like, to me, that was super weird. So I was like, okay, like, what's up with y'all? But like, they would just do little stuff like that, and I just felt like they would just pick with people. So I'm like, okay, it's only to a certain extent that you can, you know, ignore things, right? So it just really got to be overbearing. So of course, like a few months go by, I got really sick. So I got really sick until the point that I was out of work for like 4 months. So of course, being a new employee, you have like a certain amount of sick time. Of course, I ain't been working there for that long, so I don't have 4 months worth of sick time. Of course. So anyway, this is like, I guess where like all of my problems started. So I get sick. Of course, I'm updating, you know, the supervisor, like, hey, this what it is. I'm sick. I'm going to be out for a while. Because initially, my cat team, we didn't know how severe it was. So like, initially, me and my cat team, we didn't know how severe it was. So it was like, you know, you're out for 3 weeks for now. We'll update, right? So, like, I'm a very thorough person. Of course, I turn in all my documentation to my supervisor, and that's supposed to be it, right? So, I turned in the documentation, and it seemed like every single day that I was out, I was, like, being texted while I was home, like, when you coming back? What did your doctor say? It even got to the point where, like, I was texted, your doctor needs to specify why you're out. No, they don't. Like, no, they don't. So it was just like every day. So I'm like, okay, like, listen, I'm sick, I'm ill. Stop texting me every day. Like, you got the note. As for right now, it says tentative date of return. Let's just say I went out on January the 1st and tentative date of return, February the 1st. Like, that's the tentative date. That's what it is. February the 1st, I'll either give you another note or I'll be to work that day. So it gets to the point where it was a bit more severe than what was initially thought. So my doctor was like, you know what, you got to go through all these treatments, you got to do all of this stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead and take you out of work for the allotted time frame. So the allotted time frame altogether ended up being like 4 months. So I turned in that paperwork. So of course, now when you're out for an extended amount of time, you have to go out on a medical leave, right? So at this time, it's all of this stuff going around to where if you don't have enough time, you can have time donated. So it ended up being an issue where it was like my supervisor got upset because I told them, like, I don't need to specify. My doctor doesn't need to specify for the reason that I'm out. That's a HIPAA violation. If the doctor just say that Mary Jane is out of work from this to this under doctor's care, you got the facility, you got all the doctor's information, that's all you need to know. They don't need to specify that Mary Jane out because she got stitches in her head, got busted in her head, this person got an aneurysm. They don't have to put that because that's none of your business for what reason a person is out for. So I think once I explained that, you know, they got upset. But like I told them, listen, I work in the medical field. We not getting ready to play these doctor's notes games and all this, and they got to specify this information and put this in that, because they don't. I already know the game. No, they don't. So it was like a little bit of, I sensed, you know, some static or whatever. So I was just like, okay, like, it is what it is. I'm sick. I don't have time. I don't have time for this. Like, I'm trying to get better so I can get back to doing the things that, you know, I have to do, that I need to do for myself and my family and all that. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, leave me alone. What's tea? So, y'all, during this entire time that I was out, I did not get paid. So when I brought that to my supervisor, I was like, okay, why am I not being paid for the time that I'm out? Now, it was other people that was out that was being paid, and they had like this program to where you could get time donations and all of these other things that basically covered you being out for your medical leave. So they was like, yeah, well, your doctor didn't specify what you need to be out for, and the only thing you eligible for is leave without pay. Like, kind of like in a sneaky, like, yeah, you, like, I'm gonna put you out on leave without pay. So I'm like, well, why are other people, because I was talking to other people that work there, so I'm like, okay, they're in similar predicaments. Why are other people being paid, but I'm not? They was just like, well, you know, like, basically kind of like, well, whatever, right? So I said, cool. I said, I'm not going to complain about it, because that's what family, that's what friends is for. Like, I was straight. I wasn't worried about it. So I was like, if you thought I was going to fuss with you about being out on leave without pay, that's dead. So I was like, okay, cool. It is what it is. I ain't saying nothing, right? So, remind you, I'm out for 4 months. In 4 months, my medical leave was never approved. So when I get back, I'm like, why was my medical leave not approved? So they was like, well, you didn't have the specifications and you didn't meet this, that, and that. And I'm like, so my documentation was turned in on this date, which was 4 months ago when it initially happened. I said the initial date was out for 1 month. After that 1 month, I gave you the documentation for the remainder of the time that my physician took me out. So they was like, yeah, well, I mean, it's nothing I could do about it. So I'm like, well, can I have the telephone number to Human Resources? So then all of a sudden, nobody knows the telephone number to Human Resources. So I'm like, you're telling me that nobody knows the number to Human Resources. So I said, okay, well, when you have an issue, who do you go to? Because that's who I want to talk to. So, of course, they didn't want to tell me. So I was like, okay, cool. So I went to somebody else. I said, okay, who is the next person in line? Because at this point, I'm not getting anywhere with this person. I need to go over their head. So, in anything, I'm cool with that. I'm going to follow the chain of command. So I went to you. You didn't want to resolve my issue. I went to you several times. You didn't want to resolve my issue. That's cool. So they tell me like, okay, this is the next person in line. So I write up an email detailing this documentation was turned in 4 months ago. This documentation was turned in 3 months ago. Here's all the documentation. Here's all the evidence. Here's all the screenshots of the supervisor texting me while I'm out. Basically, you're borderline, you're harassing me while I'm out. Because if I say I'm out, then there's no reason that you should be texting me, calling me, or asking me anything or to specify why I'm out or nothing, especially when you had the documentation stating what you needed to state. So I sent it to them, right? A week go by. 2 weeks go by. No response. Cool. So at this point, I'm like, okay. So I went to the supervisor, I went to the management, and of course I put the red receipt on. So I said, when you read it right when I sent it. So they read it. So 2 weeks later, the supervisor sends me a message like, you need to call me. So I call him. I'm like, hello. So they're like, was there any reason that you reported this to such and such? I said, absolutely. I said, because I asked you didn't do anything or blah, 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 whatever. So they was like, well, you ain't have to tell the manager. So they're like, I feel like it's a problem between you and I. Da, da, da. Let me stop you right there. I said, number one, I don't know you. Number two, my best interest is me. I said, I submitted for medical leave. I'm not worried about all of that other stuff. You not paying me. I'm worried about my health. Because if I am not healthy, I can't work, I can't pay my bills, I can't feed my family, I can't do what I need to do if I'm not healthy. My number one priority is me. I said, so as far as you and I having an issue, I don't know you and rarely talk to you. So then they're like, well, you ain't had to send it to her. I said, okay, so has my issue been resolved? Still no answer. So is your manager going to meet with me regarding my issue? Nobody has an answer. Cool. So the next thing, I'm like, okay, let me find out who the union rep is. So luckily, I knew somebody that was in a higher place in another department somewhere else. They like, okay, they like, no problem. They're like, here go the director, here go the union person, here go all this. They give me everything. So of course, I call the union person. I'm like, listen, this is what I got going on. And of course, I'm new, so I'm like, I ain't even in the union. But I'm like, listen, I ain't in the union, but I just need some advice on how to carry it. So they was like, you got all your stuff? I'm like, absolutely. So they said, go ahead and send all your information over to the manager's boss. They send it over. And they said, wait for a response. I typed a 2-page email. Yes, God. 2-page email detailing everything from the very first conversation all the way until the last conversation. I let them know my medical leave was submitted 4 months ago, 120 days ago. And as ridiculous as that sounds with me saying 120 days ago, like 120 business days, like not including a weekend, that sounds pretty ridiculous. So I let them know, listen, this was submitted 120 days ago. I put all my documentation, everything. I said, this is the date that the first piece of documentation was submitted. This was the date. I find it super funny that when I turned in my documentation, it never got a response. However, you did take the time out to call and harass me while I was out on sick leave. You didn't ask how I was feeling. You don't know if I was in the ICU, if I was competent, incompetent. You don't know what was going on. Or who had my phone. Like, you just wanted to pick. And that was just like the most disgusting thing ever. Because I'm like, you know, if they're doing this to me, I can only imagine what they're doing to someone else who doesn't work in healthcare, who don't know their rights, who don't know what, you know, employers can and cannot do. Or what if they're doing this to some 18-year-old kid who this is their first job, or, you know what I'm saying? That's why I had to Let them know, like, this is not my first rodeo. This is not my first job. I'm young, absolutely. But this is not my first ring around the rosy. It's not. So I let them know. I said, listen, these are all the people who I will get involved if this issue is not resolved, because 120 days, that's a bit excessive and unacceptable, and it's unprofessional. What y'all got going on in here? Said, so y'all got till about the close of business by the end of the week to have some action, or it's going to go a bit further. All of a sudden, everything was approved, everything was pushed through, and it was like, okay, we sorry for your inconvenience. Even, y'all, it even went so far to where they was like, oh, we got to pay you for the 4 months that you was out. So when it got to that point, I was just like, okay. So I know it wasn't me. It was just you trying to be smart, because y'all had to go back and pay me for all the time that I was out, which let me know that I could have been being paid that entire time. But I guess they was trying to prove a point, but it was no point to prove. But I said, you know what? I said, I need my job. I went back. And the same thing. Nitpick, nitpick, nitpick. Until finally, I said, you know what? No more. No more. I cannot take any more. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Done. I'm done. So I was like, you know what? I had to weigh my options. Because I was like, this has been the most miserable place I've ever been. The people are miserable. Management is miserable. And I'm like, I see why people do this. You make good money, but people are miserable. I don't choose to be miserable in life. Like, you got, like, it's something wrong with you if you wake up with the intention to be mean, rude, and nasty to people. Like, you're miserable. You need help. You're mentally ill. What's something wrong with you? Like, I've never been subjected or been to a place where people who are in supervisory or management positions, like, don't want to help, don't want to teach. Then why are you the manager or the supervisor? I'm confused. Because I'm the type of person, anytime I know something or I learn something, the whole point of you learning something is to teach someone else, so they can teach someone else and to keep everything moving on. Because what good is it for one person to have all the knowledge to itself? It's too much stuff out here to learn. You're not going to get nowhere having that type of attitude, like, oh, let me know everything. I'm not going to tell them how to do this. I ain't going to tell them how to do this because they might get my job. What's for one person, what's for you won't be for you. And what's for somebody else going to be for somebody else. And that's just what it is. That's just true tea. So that's the part, like, I really just didn't understand. And it even got, to the point where, y'all, let me just, I got something just venting. Like, let me just tell you, it was even times, y'all, and y'all know this was a pandemic when I did go to work, where I had to go into the office. And y'all know, like, I'm chill. I might wear something like this. Like, listen, I'm a sweatsuit and sneaker girl every day, all day. Like, I'm like, got a stock room, and I got every color sweatsuit you can imagine, and I'm a purse girl. I'm a crossbody girl. I'm telling you, anybody that know me, they know that's my steez. I'm going to put on a cute sweatsuit. I'm going to put on some Jordans, some Yeezys, some something slick. And I'm going to put on my designer crossbody because I'm a big girl. So, you know, I got to get my crossbody steez. It was to the point they would make comments like, every time I see you, you got on a different pair of shoes. Okay, and? Like, you like, what? Now, mind you, these are big grown adults, like, old enough to be my mom. Or they'd be like, yo, no, listen, yo, one day, the person was like, I sure wish I could afford a Louis Vuitton bag. Like, now, what was that comment about? Because I'm like, you saying one or two things. Either one, how can I afford a Louis Vuitton bag? Or two, you trying to imply that it's not real. Both of which, untrue. So I'm like, just making little snide comments like that to the point. I was like, yeah. Because I work every day. And I have a master's degree. That's how I can afford anything I want. Because I work for what I have. And work for everything I have. Like, that's not my fault. Like, you know, other people be, you know, trying to put their own, you know, insecurities or whatever they have, whatever issues they got going on in their little brain on you. Like, what's the point of this one? Oh, every time I see you got on a different sweatsuit. Even if I had the same one on, it's mine. I washed it. I bought it. Like, or telling somebody, oh, come look at this. Look at it. Y'all, it was giving very miserable. Like, and like, ultimately, I knew that it definitely been my time to go, but it was definitely my time when I hated getting up in the morning to work there. Like, to the point where I had my, my workstation set up in my home, I didn't even want to walk past it, to the point where my home didn't feel like my home. No, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. My home is my place of peace. My home is my place of solace. Absolutely not. So all this stuff, all this bad energy around all of this, y'all equipment and all of that, it got to get up out of here. It gotta get up out of here. So y'all, I mean, make sure y'all have a plan. I ain't telling nobody to, you know, do nothing. I ain't telling nobody to do nothing. I'm just saying what I had to do for me. And ooh, don't it feel so good. Y'all, I packed that stuff up so quick. Said, when can I drop it off? I can't do this no more. Everybody over there, y'all be blessed. But baby, QueensteezTV is out. And y'all know the QueensteezTV always come back with the moral of the story is. And the moral of this story is protect your peace. Now, when I say protect your peace, I'm not saying go and be insubordinate to people. But what I am saying, y'all already know I tell y'all, get up, stand up for your rights. Don't let nobody mistreat you. Stand up for yourself, but it's a way for you to say things. There is a correct chain of command for you to do things. However, if somebody making you feel uncomfortable, if you've been stressed out and all of this stuff, make sure you evaluate everything. Weigh your pros and cons. Can I afford to do this? Make an exit plan. Make a getaway plan and all of that stuff. But make sure you do things in decency and in order. Y'all know I always say that. But y'all have to protect your peace. You come first. Your responsibilities, if you're not healthy, if you're not well, if you're stressed out, you can't take care of all of the other things that you have going on in your life. That causes you to lash out at, you know, your family, your friends, your loved ones, to be distant. We not dealing with all that. No, 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 no. Leave the miserable people where they at. Tell them be blessed. But God don't bless no mess. Okay? So, y'all, this is my update for what day? Day 21 of Vlogmas. Y'all, I feel good. I feel free. I'm about to go drink some wine. I'm about to go stick my big toes up in the air like this. And I'm about to be stress-free, big chilling. And yeah, that's my update, y'all. I'm going into 2022. A lot of stuff, a lot of things is being left in 2021. 2021 has been a hell of a year. I ain't taking all of that in the 2022. You know, people always saying that, but no, for real. Like, it's all about peace. It's all about tranquility. And yeah, that's it. I ain't got no more for y'all. That's my bit. Everybody, y'all be safe. Y'all got the panoramic still going around. The numbers is going up. Yeah, y'all be safe. Keep your eyes, nose, and mouth covered. And this is your girl, QueensteezTV. And I'm signing off. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, bye.